The Nintendo Switch was awesome in 2017 for having games like Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, and Xenoblade 2 to name a few. And given the fact that the Wii U didn't have anything impressive going for itself in the last year or two of its life, and that Nintendo was only focusing on one platform instead of two, most people, including this butt dumpling right here, thought the Switch was going to blow the previous year out of the water in 2018. But even though there were a few good games here and there, it was mostly just cardboard and Wii U ports until Pokemon and Smash saved the day in November and December to kickstart a surge of gold that, despite coming a year later than we all thought, will likely keep Switch owners entertained from now until the end of the console's life without any more big gaps between releases. And while we don't know for sure if that'll be the case in 2020 and beyond, it's certainly true for 2019 that arguably has too many games to even keep up with. What games are they, you ask? Well, remind your dad to sign the permission slip so you can go on that field trip to Home Depot, press the subscribe button if you haven't already, and allow me, the second strongest living thing in my room, Cameron, to tell you the 19 biggest Nintendo Switch games that are gonna raise all kinds of hell in 2019. Number 1. New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. These two games are definitely not the ones I'm most excited for since I've already 100%ed them both on the Wii U, but if you've never played either of these before, then you really do need to pick this up. Sure, the name's atrocious, but I mean, what else could they really have called it? And the graphics in New Super Mario Bros. Are lazily the same in each game, but if you put that aside, New Super Mario Bros. U is a fantastic game in its own right, because even though it's not as groundbreaking as the other 2D games were for their time, I dare say it's still in the same ballpark of fun, especially when the version on Switch comes with both the core game and the bonus Luigi game with a little extra content on top of that. And even though I still think Super Mario U is underrated by itself, Luigi U is a completely new game that I probably like better than the original. A lot of people wouldn't call this a new game and just write it off as lazy DLC, but the only thing that's the same here are the themes of the stages and the world map. Other than that though, the levels are completely remade, specifically for Luigi's new physics, and the 100-second time limit keeps things moving along, making this even better to play in short bursts on the go than the original. And given the fact that there's about twice as many Switches on the market than there were Wii U's and still counting, I'm sure this is gonna sell out the ass, and if you've never played it before, then you're missing out should you choose to skip it. Number 2. Pokemon Generation 8. Personally, I thought the controversial Pokemon Let's Go was a fun game, but I do consider it to be a hold me over till the 8th generation comes in late 2019. And whether or not you agree with me on Let's Go being a holdover, I think it's safe to say that we're all excited for whatever's coming in late 2019. I mean, as long as they don't incorporate too many of Let's Go's elements, or if they do, at least make them optional. But as long as the competitive battling stays the same as the traditional games with things like abilities and held items, plus a few new cool Pokemon added to the mix, then these two games are definitely going to be something to look forward to. Number 3. Luigi's Mansion 3. With everybody's close-minded disdain for the first game being long gone, it's great to see the Luigi's Mansion series getting the respect it deserves, with the arcade and Dark Moon being as successful as they are. And even though not much is known about the third game just yet, it's definitely something to look forward to, and at worst, I'm sure it'll still be pretty good. The only thing I'm really hoping for is that it's inside of one mansion instead of having multiple stages like the second game. Number 4. Diamond X Machina, or however you say it. To be honest, I'm not particularly fond of mechs in general, but I can still see why people are excited for this game. I mean, it's made by reputable developers who worked on Monster Hunter Stories, and its graphical style is distinct and gritty. Basically, if you've been wanting a new Armored Core game, then this is your best bet for 2019. Number 5. Yoshi's Crafted World. For some reason, nobody will give Yoshi's Woolly World a fair look at being a truly great game, but at the risk of sounding pretentious, I don't think most of the people who played it were doing it right. Sure, it's easy and still pretty fun if you're not worried about collecting everything, but if you do that, then you're essentially playing the game on easy, because the stages were designed with 100%ing them in mind. And I honestly think Woolly World's the most fun Yoshi game in the series, on top of being the best looking. So with that being said, there's no reason why I wouldn't be totally rock hard over Crafty World, and you should be too. Just make sure you try 100%ing it for the full experience, otherwise it's just an easy and generic platformer. Number 6. Fire Emblem and the Three Houses. Fire Emblem games are certainly not for everybody, especially this asshole right here, but thanks to Smash Bros. Having probably too many characters from this series, its popularity skyrocketed in recent years. If you've only played Fire Emblem Warriors, then do yourself a favor and walk around at a construction site without a helmet on until my neighbor Terry drops a wrench on your head, because that's not what this series is all about. Much like the other Fire Emblem games, The Three Houses is a tactical RPG where you really need to be careful before making decisions, cause when characters die in battle, they stay dead for the rest of the game. Unless you reset the game after a character dies from a bullshit move, or turn that feature off altogether for a casual playthrough, which is also fine, cause the games are still fun and make you think. Plus, the stories are pretty cool too, so check it out. Number 7. Doom Eternal and maybe Wolfenstein Youngblood. For some reason, nobody seems to be talking about the fact that Doom Eternal's coming out on the Switch at the same time as other platforms. Most of the time when I hear people talking about the Switch version, they talk about how they hope it's coming out in 2019 like it will for the PS4 and Xbox One. But back in October, the game's executive producer himself, Marty Stratton, said that since Switch versions of Bethesda games sell well, and that Panic Button seems to be getting the hang of porting games over, that they plan to have Switch versions of games launch simultaneously with other platforms from now on. And since Wolfenstein Youngblood's coming out sometime in 2019 and it's confirmed for the Switch, there's a good chance that it'll be released simultaneously on all platforms, which will give the hybrid console variety for those who need a little more than Nintendo's first-party games. But while we're talking about third parties, numbers 8 through 13, third-party ports. Although it'd be better for the Switch to get more original content from third parties, it is still getting an assload of quality remasters in 2019. And even though this is numbers 8 through 13, I'm only counting each numbered entry to this list for each franchise that's getting ports. Resident Evil's getting remasters of 1, 0, and 4. Plus, there's also Onimusha Warlords, Dragon Quest Builders, Vampire, Grandia's 1 and 2 remastered, and of course Final Fantasy VII, Not 8, 9, 10, 10-2, and Crystal Chronicles. And some of you might think that the last thing the Switch needs is more ports after 2018, but the Switch's shortcomings in 2018 were because of the lack of original games rather than the amount of ports. Cause could you imagine how bad the Switch's 2018 would have been without the ports? And although I don't think Nintendo should prioritize old games right now, I'm not necessarily against third parties from doing this, because even if you're sick of ports on the Switch, there's still more than enough original content coming in 2019 to distract you from your uncle's shenanigans. So why not let the rest of us either enjoy replaying these games or play them for the first time? Because after events like Square Enix's fight with Nintendo at an Applebee's salad bar in 1997, it's nice to see third parties slowly but surely dipping their feet back into the Nintendo pool. After all, everybody seems to be clamoring for GameCube games coming to the Switch, so those people should at least consider it an appetizer that Crystal Chronicles, along with some of the best Resident Evil games in the entire series, are coming to the hybrid in 2019. Number 14. Town. As much as I love the Pokemon series, I've always wondered what the developer Game Freak could do if they tried something different. And then I've realized that they've actually been doing that for years without me knowing, which caused me to feel like a bad human being. But now that I'm aware that they do in fact make games other than Pokemon, even on the PS4 and Xbox One oddly enough, I'm inclined to pay attention to the next game they're working on called Town. And we don't know too much about it yet, but the Switch can never have too many RPGs. And if this game's as fun as the graphical style is pretty, then it's only gonna beef 2019 up that much more. Number 15. NBA 2K and maybe other sports games. Okay, so sports games on the Switch were off to a rough start, but NBA 2K19 seems to have gotten it right, which is probably due to the developers understanding the Switch's hardware more, in addition to having more time to plan ahead for these ports as well. Because I'm sure companies were surprised at the Switch's success in March of 2017, and decided to copy and paste games over, with the end result not being very pretty. And even though some of the failed sports games might not return to the Switch, the NBA 2K series will at the very least give sports fans who own Switches a little more variety in 2019. Number 16. Animal Crossing. Full disclaimer, I'm one of the 3 people in the world who isn't really into Animal Crossing. I tried playing New Leaf on the 3DS, and although I found everything to be nice, it just wasn't for me. However, if you're like the rest of the world, then whatever's coming in 2019 is a very big deal, as Animal Crossing games always sell out the ass. And if you combine an immensely popular series with a console that's on fire and a year that's already stacked with content, then it just makes 2019 rip that much more ass to be a Switch owner. Number 17. Untitled Goose Game. This game looks stupid, but that's why it's awesome. There's a good chance that nobody's gonna care about this game a few weeks after it comes out, but even so, how could I not mention it here and expect the comments not to rip me a new BHUTTE? And for those of you who don't know, Untitled Goose Game's an indie game where you play as a goose on a mission of raising mundane amounts of hell in the hopes of mildly annoying humans. It might be trying a little too hard to be quirky, but at worst, I'm sure we'll all have a good time for a few days. And in the best case scenario, this game will have more to it than meets the eye. Either way, I wanted to talk about it. And if you don't like that, then you can call my personal cell phone number and tell me all about it. Message and data rates may apply, of course. Number 18. Mortal Kombat 11. Not much is known about this game other than a non-gameplay trailer featuring Scorpion fighting Raiden for farting in his face while filming an amateur jackass stunt. But if you're into fighting games and excessive gore, then the fact that the Switch is getting its own version of this is a pretty cool bonus. Number 19. Crash Team Racing. Are you sick of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe yet? No? Well, the Switch is still getting more kart racing variety. And whether or not CTR is as good as MK8 doesn't matter, because at the very least it'll keep things fresh. Plus, for the 4 or 5 people who don't want to buy Mario Kart 8 over the principle of the fact that it's a port of a game that's not even that old, Crash Team Racing's only going to be $40, which at least makes it a respectable alternative. And who knows, to some people it'll probably even be a better game. Number 20. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. To be completely honest, I wasn't all that excited when I saw the trailer for this 2019 Nintendo Switch exclusive, mainly because I thought it'd be like all those other Marvel and Avengers games that came and went without anybody noticing. And, you know, I did just play Spider-Man, which was probably my favorite superhero game of all time. But apparently I'm an idiot, because the first two Ultimate Alliance games had a pretty sizable following, and after doing a little more research on the first two games, I can't really say anything bad about an action-adventure RPG where you can play as an assload of different Marvel characters. And with Marvel being as big as it is in 2019, I'm sure this game's gonna be a big hit. I just hope it doesn't end up being a cash grab meant to take advantage of Infinity War 2's popularity. But the game's developer Ninja's pretty reputable, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and assume this game will give Switch owners more bang for their buck. Number 21. Unconfirmed Games. All the games I've talked about so far are just the ones that we know for sure are coming in 2019, but there's others that while we don't know the exact release date, we know they're being worked on and just might be ready by the end of 2019. I'm talking, of course, about games like Shin Megami Tensei 5, Metroid Prime 4, and Bayonetta 3. And although it's possible that some, if not all, of these games are for 2020, especially with Nintendo not having any reservations delaying games they don't feel are as good as they can be, I wouldn't be surprised to see one or all three of these games within the next year. Number 22. Games not yet announced. For all the amazing Switch games that are coming out in 2019, there's surely others that we don't even know about. After all, Reginald the Swiss Superman Fils-Aimé said himself that Nintendo typically likes to announce games around 6 months before they're released. And while that might not always be true, in many instances that does turn out to be the case. After all, games like Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle, Mario Odyssey, Smash Ultimate, Pokemon Let's Go, not to mention third-party games like Octopath Traveler and Mega Man 11 are all recent examples of games that were announced and released in the same year. And at the time of this video, we're not even in 2019 yet. So even though 2019's great with all the games we do know about, it's still crazy to think that there's still somehow more games we aren't even aware of yet. Whether it be rumored games like Skyward Sword HD or secrets that Walmart hasn't leaked yet. But even if the only games we know about are all the Switch gets in 2019, it's still gonna be an amazing year for the little hybrid that could, especially compared to the previous year, which makes all this content being dumped on us that much sweeter. Kinda like how going to a buffet's way better after not eating anything all day besides cardboard. And along with the Switch having an assload of games coming in 2019, we here at the FU Game Crew have some badass shirts and coffee mugs available as well that are scientifically theorized to get you a hot date. And if you send us videos or pictures of yourself rocking the merch, then we'll put it in our videos. Or if you want to support us on Patreon for silly rewards like Polaroids or loot boxes, then feel free to do that as well. What Switch games are you most excited for 2019 though? Did I miss anything important? Either way, let me know what you think in the comments below, and as always, I'll pin whatever I find most entertaining or intriguing. If you're a sexy beast who likes being pandered to and end slates, then don't forget to press that subscribe button. And if you want to like and share this video to help this channel grow, then that'd be a big help as well. My name's Cameron, and I'll see you next time.
So I want to say thank you to your loyalty, thank you for your support.